The Camtasia 2019 release is now here, and I'm going to share a quick peek and review of many of the core features and benefits. Let's dive in. Before we dive in, I just want to say that I see the 2019 release as one that provides a lot of value add in the area of productivity. In other words, lots of the features implemented will save you a lot more time in your creating and editing workflow. And so, whether you're a light or a heavy user of Camtasia, you should be happy with much of what you see here. Feature: Auto-normalize loudness to -18 LUFS. This feature is set at the project level via the Auto-normalize loudness checkbox in the project settings area. When clips are added to the timeline, the volume is auto-normalized and the volume gain reference level is set to 100%. What does this mean? In the context here, it means that each clip's audio level will be auto-normalized to a -18 LUFS level. LUFS, or loudness units full scale, is a level of perceived loudness based on the analysis of the average level over time. As a result of applying this feature, you will instantly have a project with all the audio across all the clips and tracks adjusted to a very consumable level, and you didn't have to do any manual audio editing to level it out. As you know, we often have a variety of clips in our projects, many of which were recorded at different recording levels, different times, or with different microphones, or be from different environments altogether. Let's see a quick demo. For the auto-normalize loudness demo, I want you to see that I have 3 clips here, all put on the timeline. And what we're going to do is first show you that under project settings, the auto-normalize loudness is off. So let's take a look and listen, shall we? This is my first audio clip for doing the testing for. So this is done with my Bluebird mic, and it's recorded with a reasonable proximity to the mic. The next clip I recorded was also with the Bluebird mic, but I was a little farther away, so listen how quiet this is. Here I'm now sitting back a distance from the microphone. This is test number 2. That's barely audible. And then in clip number 3, I'm using my Logitech C920 webcam, and listen to how it sounds. And here's test 3, which is me talking to the mic. So you can see how that's much louder than the other two. And you can sort of get the impression of the relative volume based on how the waveforms look. Now let's turn on the auto-normalize loudness and watch what happens to the waveform as soon as I apply it. Boom. Look at how they all have a sort of like a more balanced level to them. Let's hear how things sound now. Let's go to the first one. This is my first audio clip for doing the testing for. So that's the first one with close proximity. It's been boosted a little, which sounds pretty nice now. And let's see how the volume level compares with clip 2. Here I'm now sitting back a distance from the microphone. This is test now. See, in this clip, we could barely hear it at all before, and now we have a good volume level, although we hear a little noise there, but that's okay. This is about balancing the loudness. And let's go to our last clip, which was the webcam. And here's test 3, which is me talking to the microphone. So now you can see that this was actually lowered a little in volume. But now, if you think about it, we have 3 clips that will work together in terms of the volume level that was applied based on that cool setting. And the last part I wanted to share about applying the LUFS feature is that if you look now, I'm in edit audio here on the 3rd clip, and it shows 100%, and you see the gain in the top right, it's also 100%. If I go to the next clip beside it, you can see that it's also at 100% as well as the first clip. So it kind of equalized the gain levels and set them to 100 across the board, which just makes things more consistent and understandable. I'm really looking forward to see how this feature gets enhanced in the future to perhaps handle clip vocal volume variants and possibly some LUFS level export feature settings that may be helpful to pass our outputs on to other services. And stay tuned, because soon I'll be publishing a video to show you how this feature plays along with the other audio editing features that you may stack on, like audio compression and noise removal. Our next feature is apply block text style. I'm just going to bring in an annotation here for you. It's just some simple text, and you can see there's this kind of like bounding box that we can play with the scale. But if I apply the feature, which is accessible by clicking on your right mouse button, and up pops up this menu with these option items, you'll see apply block text style. Watch what happens when I click on it. I clicked on it, and what it did is it made the text scale. So it went up to 178, and it scaled but stayed in the same width, and it'll adjust the height accordingly. So that was kind of interesting. But where it gets really interesting is when we start to add additional words. But first, I'll just do one more apply block text style for you to see that how that kind of scaling works. So it's kind of clear and simple to understand with just a few characters for, like, one word. But now if I were to put something a little more elaborate in, like a sentence, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Okay, this has all the letters in the alphabet. But now watch what happens when I apply this feature for the text block style. I'm going to scale this a bit and play with it. I'm going to tighten the width to get sort of a mix of the number of words per line. Let's see what happens. Okay, there. See how the word dog is on the line by itself, but the other two lines are reasonably balanced. So bear in mind also the width, as I said. So now I'm going to click apply block text style. Boom. So look, we had a lot more height. It's actually the same width, but it took the line, so to speak, with the least amount of characters in a word, and scaled that up and made it stretch to sort of fit the width. So the scale of the letters for dog are up at over, size says 515 here, but if we look at the scale of the text above, and like in the word quick here, it's down to 97. So notice how this, is kind of a cool effect that the feature applies automatically by itself. Okay, now look at this, all these single words and a few double words. Let's click apply block style text. Boom. So it stretched it out. Now you notice, again, this looks like it's a little taller possibly than the size. And again, if we did scale to fit, it just kind of tunes it up. Feature: vertical and horizontal spacing in annotations. And I like to show this with a quick example, because this one is a huge productivity and creativity gainer for me. And I'm going to show you how I struggled with this before. So see here, first I have an annotation that has the letter 5 in a nice and big scale font. Okay, so if I were to just highlight the 5, you can see here it's got a size of 500, and underneath it the word tips, which I wanted to be a little smaller, is in 96 font. But because this was done as one annotation, I could never address sorting the size of the space gap in between the letters. So as soon as I would go to shrink or scale the size of these, it would proportionally, scale up the box, and it would be just, always have a big gap. If I made this very small, you still have the big gap, because largely the spacing was driven by there. So a workaround I tried to do is I would create 2 annotations, and then I would put double spaces in between the letters. So you see here I have two space in between each letter, just to like make it look a little bigger. But again, I had 2 boxes, inefficient and kind of a pain. Now we have vertical spacing and horizontal spacing here in Camtasia 2019, and it's so easy for me. Even though this letter 5 is scaled to the size of 500, my sizing below is 228. But look at how easy it is to adjust things. I have the horizontal spacing at 0.1. If I wanted it to be a little wider, okay, I just have to highlight it and scale it, or shrink it, and it's nice and easy to do. And the vertical spacing, I can, move it way above or put it really tight. This is a huge bonus for me, because now it makes everything creatively controllable. I'm more productive, and it's great. Feature: add logos and images to themes. Camtasia 2018 first introduced the concept of themes, and in there I created my own branding theme with my colors and fonts. But now with Camtasia 2019, it's been enhanced to include logos and images. And I'm going to show you how that's accommodated. So the best way for me to do that is I'm going to add to my timeline at Playhead an asset that I've already downloaded from the TechSmith Camtasia Library Assets site. And in there, as you can see on the right-hand side, we have select theme at the top. And notice in here, there is a logo, which has the Camtasia logo there. And if we just play this, it looks really cool, a spinning logo that scales up as it spins, and out comes the effect. Really cool. So how can I, apply this to my brand and get a result fairly quickly? So if we go under select theme, you click on GI branding. Notice right away my logo appeared as a substitution, and down here it's in here inside, and I'm just going to scale it to fit the full size because you want to do that to make sure it works. And now watch, if I play, bam, it goes from small to large scale. All done. All that fancy work that I had to do before, playing with the attributes around the keyframes to make sure that they apply to all or didn't apply to all. Now, if I can do a logo substitution, this happens very fast and clean. And so how did I get my logo in there? If you can see, we'll go back to the level here. We'll pop out and we'll come in, and you see under GI branding theme here, anywhere where you can apply a theme, you can usually access the manage themes. We click here on manage themes, and now you can see there's a third tab here, which is called logo. And all I did was have to just load my logo in there. So if I were to X this out, I would just have to browse and bring in my logo file, and that's it. And what's really cool about this, I'm just canceling here, is that this currently is used for library assets that have that quick property logo in some, intros or lower thirds. I can't wait to see how this expands in usage as we go forward with all kinds of other creative things that you can do with library assets. Feature: expanded number of customizable hotkeys and shortcuts. I have a picture up on screen right now that shows you in Camtasia 18, we had just 8 customizable hotkeys. Now, if you look at the summary picture I have here in Camtasia 2019, there's 9 categories and there are over 70 shortcuts. So now the tab has been renamed to shortcuts from hotkeys. So let's take a peek inside and see. So if we go under edit, preferences, you're going to see here, we're just going to fill the screen here, and we go under shortcuts, and now you see there's a whole host of shortcuts that you can apply. So animations, canvas, programs, look at many of these are open tabs, so they're not really like true actual edit shortcuts, at least in this tab. But if we get down to something like library options here, for example, add selection to library, although this existed before Control-Shift-A to add a selection to the library, if I want to just edit this and change it to something like an A, I can click in there and press the letter A. But notice down below, A was previously assigned to Open Animations tab. Camtasia unassigned the shortcut for that command. So you notice you have a reset button here, but you also have to be, really careful because, when you switch one thing, if you're overwriting a key for another, it's going to get, blanked out to be set again. So if we come back and we go find that and we see under Program Options, see here, Open Animations tab, that key is unassigned. So if I want to put that key back, I'll put an A in again. Now it says A was previously assigned to add selection to library. Camtasia unassigned it there. So you see now we're in a bit of a game. So you can always click to go back to the default to reset to what it was just before, or you can click reset to default. So if I did assign that to an A and I did an OK and I came back in, you can always click restore to defaults, and through all the tabs, whatever will have been assigned. For example, the Open Animations tab should have been an A, right? And the Control-Shift-A here. So there's a lot of flexibility, you need to be careful what you're doing when you assign things. But, this could be, if you're one that's really into shortcutting your keystrokes and you have a method in mind for your own workflow to work faster, this can be a great added value. So it's something that's been long awaited for many, and it's a cool addition. Feature, new whip spin transition. I love transition. It's no secret. And spin transitions are, very popular these days. So TechSmith has added into Camtasia, as you see here on the left, the new whip spin transition. You see how it goes from left to right with a little spin action. I have 2 clips right here where there's a lady walking and then followed by a few little girls running around. So I'm going to add that transition in. Because it already has motion, it's well suited for something like this that has motion in it. I just drop it on the timeline, as you know, drag and drop, and then let's just see how it looks. Okay. Very cool. Nice and smooth, and because it was a left to right flow and the motion in both clips made sense, the way I applied it, it looks very cool. I can't wait to see more of these kinds of things in the future with other dimensions to them. So I love this one. Feature, import and use vector PDF files. I love the fact that we can now bring in scalable vectors. And the cool part about PDF vectors is that they open, as indicated here, they open flawlessly in most graphic apps, and you can convert them easily, and they scale infinitely without loss. So let's look at a quick example. So see here, I have on screen, I use a site called Vector Tunes, and I get a lot of really cool vectors from there. First, I brought it out from the media bin and put it on screen on the size that it came, and you can see there's nice detail there. And then I scaled it way up 400%, and look at all the detail. It's nice, crisp, and clean. Vector Tunes gives you a native download for PDF vectors. Then another site I use for a lot of vectors is Deposit Photos, and their format is an EPS file. And for me, well, you could use a conversion tool like I showed you already. So lots of options. Now we can use scalable vectors and keep that detail. And PNGs are great, but if there's some kind of loss factor involved there, you might want to also look at the alternative of PDF vectors. Feature, new mouse cursor effect to smooth out cursor movements. You can see that right here under the cursor effects category. We have cursor smoothing. If you look at the picture on the left side, you see the mouse sort of dancing all around, but the version on the right side is nice and smooth with a move up and then a move across. Now let's look at an example. So my T-Rec file that I recorded is based on my recording I did of my Topaz Studio application. It's an app I use to do cool effects to apply to my photos. So what I want to first show you is that when I did this example, I kept in mind creating elements that I would want to use the cursor smoothing for and elements I wouldn't, just so that you could see how the edit comes together. So when I play this, as you see it's playing right now, we have the cursor on screen, and the cursor is going to start moving around a little bit, and you see it's jerking around and bouncing, but then it's going to get to a point where the cursor is going to go over to the left, and then it's going to scroll. And when I get over this phase here of bouncing the cursor all around, now when I'm in the scroll phase here, I want actually this part not to be edited, and then I choose an option. Then I'm back into this cursor talking with my mouse on the screen. But then when I go to the right side to do an edit, I want to not have the cursor smoothing on while I do this part. So let's just see how that's applied. So here you can see I have cursor smoothing here in this segment and cursor smoothing here in this segment. So let's just play from the beginning. You can see how nice this end product works out. So as you can see, here we are, the cursor. By the way, I increased the size of the cursor for visibility. The cursor is not moving right now, so there may have been talking, etc., and I don't have that messy jumping around and jerking of the cursor and movement. But then soon, as I mentioned, when I go to deal with the scrolling on the left side, now the cursor is actually not got the smoothing effect on, and then I do a selection, and then I freeze the cursor again now with the smoothing, which is in this third segment. And that was, while I was in that third segment, I didn't have the jerky and mouse talking movement is not there. And then I took the smoothing back off for the final segment, which you're in now, which involves me doing the mouse over of the different effect details and then clicking on them and doing the work. So there you have it. It's something that you need to be careful in how you apply, but it'll help you take your editing up a notch and help with a real quality professional feel to your edits. Feature: open in Camtasia option for TechSmith Asset downloads. See, if we go here, we're in Camtasia 2018 now, and if we click on download here, you see at the bottom left, the file gets downloaded. It's a live zip file, and then you need to click on that in order to bring it into Camtasia. And if you can go into Camtasia, and then you're ready to import. What's different is that in Camtasia 2019, there'll be a more direct, a little more efficient way of getting that asset straight into the library. Feature: additional device frames for download in TechSmith Assets. As you can see on screen here, I have a device frame visual effect already applied, and you can see we have this picture nicely in this desktop device frame. But if you click on the drop down now, there's a download more button in 2019. And what that does is it opens up the TechSmith Assets site, and a device frame section will come up. You can see that there's going to be all kinds of device frames to look at. And as you can see here, some of them are free. You can see this free symbol. Some of them are not. You would be required to have your membership. But what I really like is, if you can see, some of these device frames will have like a clear background or a clean background so that you can put text or video clips and do other neat things. And there's going to be lots of selection, so this is very exciting. And in closing, I'll just mention a few last items. In particular, Canvas preset sizes are updated. So that means you can do things like use social media sizes for like Facebook and Instagram. Those are examples of some other updates. There's improved smart focus functionality, and of course, more assets in the TechSmith library. And there's a few changes for Mac users, as you can see here on the screen. And let's not forget that you can still run Camtasia 2019 and 2018. Both applications can be run in parallel, so you're safe to do so. Thanks very much. Wow, there you have it. A walkthrough of many of the new features in Camtasia 2019. For those of you who currently have the TechSmith maintenance plan, Camtasia 2019 is a free upgrade. For the rest of you, maybe it's time to dive into an upgrade and enjoy all the great new features and productivity gains to be had. And if you're new to Camtasia, there's no time like the present to get started and enjoy the awesome power of this video recorder and video editing software. Thanks, and I'll see you in another video soon.